Eagles. This was an absolute dismantling of the Kansas City Chiefs by the Eagles. Your first thoughts are what?
That the Philadelphia Eagles defense showed everyone today why they were the #1 defense in the National Football League. And they basically dominated the line of scrimmage. And if the game got to that, we knew that the Kansas City Chiefs would be in trouble. And that's what happened to them. They couldn't block them. They could not block that front.
Last night on SportsCenter, I'm going to give you your props. You picked the Eagles. I ain't giving you props for that. I'm giving you props for how you said it was going to happen. You said they couldn't block them, so they were going to have to run the ball. If not, Mahomes would be running for his life all night. He got sacked 6 times. He was pressured 16 additional times. He
literally what happened.
2 picks, and they got blown out the building.
Yeah, I anticipated that if that took place, what you just talked about, this was going to be the result. Now, I didn't obviously think they were going to score 40 points.
Right.
But turnovers help. And think about the Eagles going into the playoffs. And I said this as well. They took the ball away 10 times in playoff competition. They took it away 3 more times. They were the better team, but they dominated. They dominated the Kansas City Chiefs, and it all started with their defense.
They were the better team, but all along we've been saying, you know, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and they've got Patrick Mahomes, and until somebody goes in and beats them, then you have to respect the defending champions. But there were also so many times this season we were like, wait, hold on. Is this the moment the Chiefs are actually in trouble? Is this what actually happened? Like, this is what we thought we've been worried about has finally happened?
Well, look here now. They played the best team in football. The Eagles were the best team in football.
Okay.
Okay, let's make that perfectly clear. That was my opinion as I watched the season. The Chiefs just have the it factor, where if you allow them to stay in games, they beat you. And that's what they did all year. And that's why they're a great football team. But this game got out of hand early for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
They got a lead, and then from there it was like, now they have to throw. They played right into the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles.
You could say not only was this the best team in football this year in Philadelphia, but probably the best or maybe most talented team that the Chiefs have faced in their Super Bowl appearances under Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. As promised, Tim Hasselbeck is here. And we're going to talk a lot about the Eagles, but I want to get your take on Patrick Mahomes on the wake of what Coach Herm was just saying here, Tim. The pressure that Mahomes was facing, and they weren't even blitzing him to get to him.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, Michael, when you look at it, the Eagles didn't bring more than a 4-man rush, I don't think, on a single drop back the entire night. That means that a 4-man rush absolutely dominated this football game. That's what happened. That's exactly what Herm was talking about. I mean, the Eagles up front were dominant. And listen, it was edge pressure. It was guys winning inside. And I will say this, I think it affected Patrick Mahomes, and I think it affected him early in the football game. I think there were a couple misses early on, which, obviously kind of helped things spin out of control in Philadelphia's favor. I think at one point, time of possession was like 25 minutes to 5 minutes. I mean, it was wild. And so, 0 for 8 on 3rd down, and just the Chiefs were struggling. And so, look, the pressure was the thing. We had to credit the Eagles for their pressure. And then I think we saw Kansas City, and in particular Patrick Mahomes, not respond well to the fact that they were under so much pressure.
To give you some context here, Philly able to bring that pressure against Mahomes, as you mentioned, without committing any extra rushers. He threw an interception against both man and zone in one of the worst games of his career, Coach.
Well, and Tim knows this. He's played the quarterback position. He was never set. He was always hurried. He never felt comfortable in the pocket. As great as he is, when you start hitting that quarterback, they feel it. He felt those hits. And, when you're on defense and you're the coach, you know what you're telling your guys? Go hunt. Go hunt. And that's what they were doing. They were hunting the quarterback, literally hunting them down. So we're going to hit this guy.
So in the hindsight of 2020 world, what should the Chiefs have done? How should they have responded when the Eagles started hunting?
Here, I thought when they opened the game up, they had a good plan. They spread them out, and they threw the ball quickly. He got it out of his hand. He made some throws, and I went, oh, here they go. They moved the ball. And then all of a sudden, they got away from that. And I'm like, why did they get away from it? Because they kept the Eagles' defense on the field with those short throws where they couldn't get to the quarterback. But then they just kind of got away from it, and all of a sudden it became, we're trying to catch up, and then the big guys went and hunted.
Show of hands, how many people thought that the Eagles' leading rusher in this game would not be Saquon Barkley?
Exactly. Right.
I mean, so you have to give the Chiefs defense a little bit of credit for that, but you also have to look at the game that Jaylen Hurts played. When you think about the poise that he had, the rushing attempts that he had, how do you sum up what you saw tonight, Tim, from Jaylen Hurts?
I thought he played great. You know, I think, look, the story of the game is going to be the fact that the Eagles defense dominated the football game. Like that is the story. Now, saying all of that, Jaylen Hurts had a great night. Look, he had one mistake early in the game versus a pressure. I think there was a bust up front by the offensive line actually when it happened. And outside of that, it was a really as you said, poised, clean performance by Jaylen Hurts. I thought once they had the lead as well, the way that he played was outstanding. I think you can play the quarterback position differently based on, is it a tie game? Are you ahead? Are you losing? So they were playing with the lead, and I thought the way he played with the lead in the second half was great. You saw him rip off, I think, 3 big runs in the second half. And so some of that is just being smart, where you're not, overly aggressive in terms of how you throw the football or, if you decide to even throw the football. So, look, this was one of these games, like the storyline and how we'll remember it will be Eagles, dominating defensive performance. But Jaylen Hurts, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and he played better at the quarterback position than anyone else that was on the field tonight. That's what happened.
Him on the ground, and obviously he gets his first Super Bowl win, and you just saw there in his career, he became the first player in NFL history with 10 passing and 10 rushing touchdowns in a postseason, and that kind of describes what the Eagles were able to do this entire run. There were times this season where their offense was called into question, and then came the postseason, and it was like, flip the switch.
Yeah, and kudos to Jaylen Hurts, because I heard him in an interview say, well, look, it's not about what I do as a passer. I'm just trying to win. I just want to win games. And he was right. Early in the season, he didn't throw the ball a lot. Saquon Barkley was their guy. They were running the football, playing good defense. But when he had the opportunity where he had to make some throws, and it showed up in the Washington game, in the playoff game, where he actually had to make some big-time throws, he did it. It carried over to this Super Bowl. And by the way, the last Super Bowl he played in where he lost to the Chiefs, he played well in that game as well.
Yeah. It took just 2 seasons. Nick Sirianni, Jaylen Hurts avenging that Super Bowl loss to Kansas City, and they get their first championship together. The duos combined 70 years and 61 days old. All right, do the math. The 4th youngest head coach quarterback duo by a Super Bowl winning team all time behind Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger back in 2008. Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw, 74, Sean McVay, and Matthew Stafford, 2021. All right, so let's go big picture here for the Eagles. And we're obviously going to talk about the dynasty that the Chiefs have been and also trying to win an unprecedented 3 in a row. But now for the Eagles, this is 2 trips to the Super Bowl in 3 years.
Yes.
They get the championship, and the way they are structured right now, there's no reason to believe they would not be the favorite in the NFC starting next season. What is this championship meaning for this as we go forward?
Well, look, you just mentioned it. It's easy to say that, hard to do. They play in a pretty good division. Washington, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
The Commanders is a pretty good football team, right? We know Dallas will do whatever they do to kind of compete in the division. So the Giants are the Giants right now.
They're trash.
Okay. But you're right. I mean, they're going to be considered going into the offseason probably the best team to represent the NFC.
Right.
Detroit Lions, very good football team. So there's still some good teams. San Francisco's not going to play like they did this year, next year.
They might not even have Debo, though. Like, Debo's trying to get out of town.
It's okay. That's it. That's San Francisco.
But I'm just saying, like, for to become a dynasty, what the Chiefs are still, you have to win the first one.
Yes.
Right? Now, the Eagles have won one before, but not with this group.
They didn't have Saquon Barkley the last time.
Correct.
That is
Now
correct.
they do.
That is correct. But I can almost guarantee you that Saquon Barkley won't rush for 2,000 yards next year.
Okay,
that's not going
fair.
to happen.
Yeah,
right.
that's
So
fair.
The bar is high.
Yeah,
the bar is high.
I mean, that is
but
accurate,
look,
yeah.
everything has to come together. Do they have the formula? They do. But how do they handle success? That's another thing.
Well, that's true.
Do they come back hungry? Do they say, we want to do it again? I mean, it's easy to say, but it's hard to do. When the offseason comes, players, we went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, we can go. Everybody's patting. Yeah, you're going to go again. Okay? Yeah, think about that. It's hard. This is why the Chiefs have been so good.
Getting there again. And the Chiefs, they did something, not only were they trying to win 3 in a row, but they were the first team trying to win 3 in a row that even made it back to the Super Bowl. Tim, Super Bowl MVP is Jaylen Hurts. And you just think about the story and to pull a phrase from The Bachelor here, the journey he has been on from getting pulled in the national championship game when he was at Alabama and then going to OKC to losing his first appearance in the Super Bowl and now this, winning it, and he's your Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, I think there's a few guys that have played the quarterback position, and their journey to winning a Super Bowl is unique. And I think it's one where it's like, you can't tell the story of the NFL without that guy's story. And so I think of guys like Kurt Warner. Like his path and to winning Super Bowls and doing what he did. Like I think it's remarkable, and it's something that I think people will always just kind of remember. You just think of other quarterbacks that have had a unique path to get there. Look, this guy was he was benched in college. He was told he needed to go play somewhere else. He wasn't a first-round draft pick. He had to kind of prove himself as a passer. And he finds himself very early in his career playing in 2 Super Bowls and winning one of them. And while I agree with Herm, there's a lot of change that's going to happen with this team. Look, there's a good shot that their offensive coordinator isn't back. Look, they went to a Super Bowl this year with 2 first-year coordinators with the organization. Look, that's unusual and hard to do. So the change is going to be hard to deal with. But look, they are built to be good again next year and be good in the future because they're good on the defensive side of the ball. They are good in the trenches. They have a quarterback that doesn't have a contract that's eaten up the rest of the team's money. They have a superstar running back. They have elite wide receivers. Like there's a lot to like about them. And I also think there's a leadership and poisement out of Hurts that's really special.
All right, so we want to get final thoughts here because NFL primetime is coming up,
Yep.
and then it's Scott Van Pelt, and then it's back to us. So your final thought on what we've seen so far today.
I mean, listen, for me, I think it's a remarkable, dominating performance, and I think for everybody that criticized Nick Sirianni and his leadership ability, think about what the turnover he's had. It's been incredible.
As a former Eagle, I'm happy for
Oh, I
the
noticed
Eagles.
that, Green.
I'm gonna say it like that. It was real simple. That's